You know, they're selling you all wolf tickets, people. You're eating them right up.
Hey, pussy, are you still there?
I back. Trust me, I back.
But I'm not impressed by your performance.
You'll do nothing. You'll do nothing. Shut your fucking mouth, you'll do nothing. You'll do fucking nothing. Not one of you'll do nothing.
I'll tell you what, bro. You know, I was out there, I was fighting all the hitters, bro. You ain't fought no hitters.
Come on, guys. It's normal.
I'm not saying I would fight you. I would kill you.
John, do you think? John, do you think I'm just gonna sit there and let you kill me, John? I mean, really?
No, don't be scared, homie.
I'd like to take this chance to apologize to absolutely nobody. The double champ does what the fuck he wants.
I'm gonna beat you into the living death. That's your job, but where I come from, you know, people like that get slapped.
That's fucking illegal.
Nick Diaz, you just shook up the world. How's that feel?
Hey, I'm not surprised, motherfuckers.
Yeah, this is a simulated death match. And you haven't simulated anybody's death yet.
I said it last year. We're not here just to take part. We're here to take over.
What is the game plan going in against him?
The game plan is you go in there, hit him with some good shit, don't get hit, and come home with a pocket full of cash.
Who the fuck is that guy?
Everybody's on steroids. The whole UFC, everybody.
I'm gonna go home tonight. I'm gonna drink a Coors Light. That's a Coors Light because Bud Light won't pay me nothing.
Do you want to be a fighter? That is my question.
Any of you radio personalities think you want smoke? Call me Mr. Jimi. I want smoke.
Yes. What is up? What is up, MCR family? Another daily edition of the show, live every day, Monday through Friday, live at 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific, and 10 p.m. in the UK to talk all things boxing, MMA, etc. And obviously, you can call in live on the show, 323-870-4051. And I am adding an international line, though it is private. So if you are an international listener and you do want to call in, email me, mixedcombatradio@gmail.com to get on the line if you're an international caller. And I can hook up that link for you. We will have a Skype line to make it a little more streamlined, a little more seamless for you guys soon, very soon. Thanks to a lovely donation from one of our Patreons who wanted to be nameless. We received some equipment and able to do that. So we're going to get another phone line for all of our international callers soon. But if you want to get in on this show or maybe tomorrow's show, because I don't know if I can get the line up by tomorrow, email me, mixedcombatradio@gmail.com. Or if you just want to be a part of this movement in any sort of way, if you want to write for us, be a part of the show, produce for the show, edit for the show, whatever it may be, email me there. Hit the like button, subscribe, share the show. Patreon.com/mixedcombatradio for to help support the show. All that YouTube stuff aside, let's get into the news because it's not the heaviest news cycle of the day, to be honest. But obviously, it's Wednesday, so that means it's preview day. It means we're going to review obviously Carl Frampton versus Luke Jackson, Tyson Fury versus Francesco Pianeta, the Bryant Jennings Alexander Dimitrenko fight on ESPN. And also on the UFC and MMA side, just for the second half of the show. Obviously, we're going to cover a little bit of the Bellator and PFL card, but really very light week over there. We do have some more tragic, or I would say just unfortunate news to get to later in the show. And it's unfortunate what we have to really discuss with that one, but is what it is. But we're going to save that for later. But before we get to any of that, quickly shout out to all of you guys in the chat live. AA Boxing Blunts, The Prospect, Louie, Aaron Munoz, The Prospect, and Kyle. Shout out to Kyle, one of our social media directors and soon-to-be co-host. Let me know if you need any help, Kyle, on your end to get to that, to get on this. I know you need some help. Louie, that is hilarious. I like that funny joke you just said right there in the chat. But let's digress to, obviously, what you're here for. It is preview time. It is basically the Carl Frampton, and let's be honest, really, it's the Tyson Fury fight week. And let's be honest that basically it's to the point now where, with Tyson Fury where it's not really this fight. It's obviously the Deontay Wilder overarching storyline and throughout this fight week, throughout this sort of build-up, that I think is bigger than any of these individual fights. But like the Cristofer Rosales versus Paddy Barnes fight, which we're going to get to, that's a fantastic matchup. That's probably the best matchup in the entire weekend in both sports, MMA and boxing. It's probably the best single matchup we have. That's not getting talked about at all, if any, let's be honest. Paddy Barnes a little bit, got some traction just because he went at Maya St. John for the whole PD shit, but, I don't think his fight with Cristofer Rosales, which is a very tough fight, is going to be interesting. Louis, okay, I'm going to address this because Louis, the joke I said that Louis said in the chat was Pianeta via TKO round 4. And he said, that's my genuine pick. Prepare to eat crow. Hold on. I think I have a soundbite for you somewhere. Hold on.
Bro, what are you talking about, man?
Yeah. Please. What are you talking about? But let's get to the fights. As I said, Carl Frampton versus Luke Jackson. Tyson Fury versus Francesco Pianeta, Cristofer Rosales versus Paddy Barnes. Those are the 3 fights we're going to cover on that card before we step into any other boxing action or any other boxing cards this weekend. And working from the bottom up, Cristofer Rosales versus Paddy Barnes. Paddy Barnes being a 2-time bronze medalist in the Olympics for the UK. Cristofer Rosales being one of those guys, sort of like a Robinson Castellanos, maybe Jose Uzcategui. One of those guys that we sort of, I think, labeled as that top 15 sort of borderline guy that is going to present fun matchups to certain people, but is really the B side. Rob, I see your chat, and I just couldn't find it, to be honest. But anyways, digressing. I think Rosales, after beating Diago Higa, who's an undefeated 15-0 champion at the time, that a lot of people, I think, were hyping up, who had beat Moises Frontas and others. He's sort of in a different realm here where I think we sort of have to look at him as a different opponent or a different fighter entirely than what we previously thought. Similar to Jose Uzcategui. Paddy Barnes here, who I believe is 5-0, 4-0, undefeated, has this long amateur career and pedigree. I'm really torn on this fight. I think Paddy Barnes, while defensively is actually pretty gifted in terms of his reflexes, his head movement, it's understated. He doesn't really show it that often, but when he does show it, you can tell that he has those defensive chops. And quickly, the prospects saying live fight chat for this fight card. Yes, we will. We will definitely have a live fight chat and obviously immediate reaction, call in for all that, etc. But to digress, Paddy Barnes, though, offensively, in my opinion, is one note. He is a guy that predominantly wants to get on the inside, deliver tight, fast combinations, and to be fair, his hand speed is incredible. He should have the hand speed advantage and or the overall athleticism advantage in this matchup. However, I see Rosales being the bigger, taller guy overall. I think being the better at picking his shots and putting combinations together. His ability to sort of swarm his opponent into the point of putting them almost like quicksand, it feels like. I think Paddy Barnes is in there for a very tough fight. This is probably going to be a fun back-and-forth affair. I'm picking Cristofer Rosales slightly, and I know it's kind of... I know everyone over there in the UK listening right now is maybe upset a little bit, but I definitely believe Cristofer Rosales is just too much of a ringer right now. Paddy Barnes is a little bit too much of a one-note opponent for Rosales. And Rosales has lost to guys like an Andrew Selby, who is young in his career. I think he was 7-0 at the time. At least Selby, I think, has a couple more gears to his game. From what I've seen from Paddy Barnes, and maybe I'm wrong, offensively, not defensively, but offensively, he is one note. And he does the same thing consistently. And while he is very good at it, his hand speed and his ability to put combinations together to the body is incredible. But I think Rosales, at this point, is a little bit too much in that department. And I think Paddy Barnes doesn't have a clear advantage on the inside to where I can say, okay, he's going to beat out Rosales there every time. I don't see that. And at range, Rosales is sneaky. His 1-2 and then his left hook is sneaky stuff. And plus, Rosales can switch stances. I think he's an underrated, unorthodox fighter. Again, similar to Uzgatigi. Moving over to the co-main, Tyson Fury versus Francesco Pianeta. What do I have to say about this? I think Tyson Fury should win this. I don't think he's going to look great in it. I don't think he looked great in his last fight against Sefer Safari. I think Pianeta's a little bit better than Safari. At least he's a true heavyweight, let's be honest. But, I mean, he's been handpicked. He's not a good fighter, Pianeta. I think Tyson Fury is at least levels above him, even though athletically he may not be in his prime right now. And just in terms of just game plans, IQ, having the natural instincts, he may be a little bit rusty still, but I think he still showed natural boxing skill and composure and game plan against Safari. Pianeta, well, I think he's going to come in there a little more aggressive. This fight should be a little bit better than that fight. It still should be a Tyson Fury win by decision, let's be honest. Probably not going to be the most exciting fight as well. But again, this is really about Tyson Fury versus Deontay Wilder. This is really about, okay, when Tyson Fury beats Francesco Pianeta, are we going to get Deontay Wilder in the ring with him? A part 2 of what happened in, I think it's Alabama when that occasion took place. That to me is still the main storyline, not only for this fight card, but for especially Tyson Fury. And that's really where all the eyes of the boxing world are going to be on, is that moment after this fight. But unfortunately, Carl Frampton's going to have to, come on into the ring after that and try to put on a show against Luke Jackson. And to Luke Jackson's credit, I think he's going to be in there to put on a fight. I think Jackson is horrendous at range. His balance is awful. He falls over himself basically when he throws that right straight consistently, it looks like. And plus, he's just very inactive at range. He has the high guard, kind of just walking around, and then he tries to explode on the inside. And then once he's there, that's really where he does his good work. He has a great left hook. We've seen that. But he still is a guy that's beat no one. And has definitely beat no one in the Australian circuit. And that regional scene is just poor. It's just not the greatest regional scene out of boxing. It's not better than the UK, the US, or even Mexico, to be quite honest. And Mexico gets laughed at for its sort of regional pro scene. Not only for its corruption, but just for the overall quality of matchups and fights. The Australia-Oceania market and regional scene, it's pretty bad. Rob saying Frampton will show levels. He should. He definitely should. I mean, Frampton's a complete boxer, complete fighter. Luke Jackson, talking about one note, with Paddy Barnes. Luke Jackson's far worse with far less skill and athletic talent. But yes, definitely I think Frampton should show style, should show skill, should show levels above Jackson this matchup. And maybe set up a Josh Warrington fight, Oscar Valdez fight. There's definitely matchups for Frampton with this fight for being for the WO interim featherweight title. Obviously, the full champion is Valdez. I would love that matchup. I know Josh Warrington's been wanting it since he beat Selby. I'll be honest, I think Josh Warrington beats Frampton at this point in Frampton's career. But again, we're going to see what Frampton looks like here. I think he looks a little bit... what's the right term? He definitely didn't seem to be eager or in any rush against Nonito Donaire in their fight. Never really stepped out first gear. Hopefully he does better in this one. Because then it starts becoming a trend where you really start questioning, where is Frampton at in terms of his prime, athletically? Fighters in the low weight classes do slip at an earlier age than fighters at higher weight classes. They just do. The margin for gaps or levels of difference between fighters athletically is much smaller in the low weight classes. So that's why when you slip at, let's say, 32, 33, 34, it's much more apparent than, let's say, at heavyweight or light heavyweight or cruiserweight, etc. But again, Frampton should win this fight against Jackson. I think he should look good in it. I think Jackson is a hittable, defensively flawed, offensively flawed fighter that has really just an undefeated resume against nobodies in a bad market. Boxing and blunts, echoing what I'm saying Warrington beats Frampton, he bullies him. I agree with that. I think Frampton still, even before we see this fight, I think we can tell that Frampton, the same Frampton that fought Leo Santa Cruz the first time, is not the same Frampton we have now. That, I think, is just apparent and obvious. But yes, digressing from that, let's head to the top-ranked card over in Atlantic City, New Jersey on ESPN, and not ESPN Plus, for any of those listening. I wanted to know how to get it. You don't need the app for it in case you do not have the app. Headlined by Bryant Jennings versus Alexander Dimitrenko, Jesse Hart versus Mike Gavronski on it, and Shakur Stevenson versus Carlos Ruiz. And also Jason Sosa is on it, and it's Ronaldo Blanco. And he should win that pretty easily, let's be honest, for Jason Sosa. And just good to see a guy that I think should be back in the mix. I know he had 2 back-to-back losses against Lomachenko and Gamboa, but that was Lomachenko Gamboa, let's be completely honest. But starting from the bottom up for Shakur Stevenson, working up to Bryant Jennings, Carlos Ruiz is a awful fighter. This should be another clear showcase for Shakur Stevenson, who's been knocking out and styling on guys like this. There's really nothing more I can say about it other than Shakur Stevenson should win this by an easy knockout or TKO within 6 rounds. Anything after that, nah, I don't think it's worth it. Real Nigel saying Mayer is fighting, isn't she? No, she is not. I believe she's fighting on the Ray Beltran, Jose Pedraza fight card, which is in September. I want to say, Nigel. I believe that's the case. But yeah, Shakur Stevenson, again, great prospect, a guy that I think we know has a good high ceiling. He was an amazing pickup for a top rank, but he's ready for a step up. Like I'm tired of seeing Shakur Stevenson fight these guys, who I think is on like a 2-fight losing streak, something like that, like a 3-fight losing streak for Carlos Ruiz. Again, who's been knocked out by a ton of people. This should be an easy win for Shakur. And again, I think a lot of people are ready for him to take a step up. And I think he is ready for it. I think he has the skill where he is ready for this step up. But again, also because of his age, there's a reason why they don't. He's still, I think, 20 years old, 21, if that. He still has plenty of time in the world. Moving on to the co-main event, Jesse Hart versus Mike Gavronski, another fight that is just showcase. Like this whole card is showcases. Even the Jason Sosa Ronaldo Blanco fight, that should be a showcase for Jason Sosa. Mike Gavronski, I remember looking up his record. Nothing of note. I forget who he lost to. But again, Jesse Hart should win this. Better pedigree, better skill. Has 3 inches, 4 inches of height and reach on him. Jesse Hart should win this by knockout. Again, within 6 to 9 rounds, probably. And then the main event, Bryant Jennings versus Alexander Dimitrenko, whose only win of note is Derek Rosie in 2008, 10 years ago. Who was last seen getting knocked out by Joseph Parker. Yes. The same Joseph Parker that really doesn't have that much knockout power or any power. Knocked out Dimitrenko within, I think, 3 rounds. And Rob, please quote me on that. But it was early. It was. I'm good. I'm good on this card, to be quite honest. And again, if Bryant Jennings, from my interviews with him, is 1/10 of the skill he talks about himself in, he should beat Alexander here clearly. The Boxing Idiot saying there's fights on ESPN Plus at 7 a.m. tomorrow. Yes, that is the. I have it right here. Ryosku Awasa versus TJ Doheny fight for lost his IBF junior featherweight title, which I believe that was a vacated belt or something. I forget how that came about. I could be wrong. Bayside Boxing saying Mike Gavronski beat Brian Vera. Put some respect on Gavronski's name. Okay. And Brian Vera's not a Jesse Hart. Let's be honest. Brian Vera is a guy that got a lot of push from him promotionally, but he did nothing. What has Brian Vera done in that division? I will wait. Please, I'm here. Or you can call in 323-870-4051. But let's move on. There's some other fights that aren't, I'm not going to say aren't getting televised, but fights that I'm not going to really break down. On Friday, there's ESPN2 card with Andre Canseco versus Darrion Zamanj, and Oshiro Kamagai is on the card as well. What else? Carlos Cuadras is fighting in Mexico City, but we're not going to get any television rights to that. There's a CBS Sports Net card with Demon Nicholson versus Isaac Rodriguez. DeMarcus Corley is on the card, and Leonardo Tyner is on the card. Blast on the past there, it feels like. And also there's a Cloud TV card with a bunch of names that I don't know, but Robinson Castellanos is on the card against somebody I have never heard of. But that is basically all the boxing this weekend of note. And next weekend we can discuss some more boxing. But let's get to the news of the day for the sport, and then we can head over to MMA and all that fun stuff. To sort of, what's the best way to say it? To update the Ryota Moreta versus Rob Brandt purse bid. Bob Arum is stating, per Steve Kim and Boxing Scene, etc., that they will not fight Rob Brandt, and they will try to basically get an exemption from the WBA to fight Jason Quigley October 20th, Mandalay Bay in Las Vegas, which also, just to make note of quickly, that is the same day as Billy Joe Saunders versus Demetrius Andrade on DAZN. So in theory, obviously, Moreta versus Quigley is on ESPN or ESPN Plus, against Andrade versus Billy Joe Saunders. Hopefully they put something else on the card, because obviously there's one fight that is clearly better than the other, and it's not on the ESPN network that day, and especially in this ESPN versus DAZN war I've been talking about, you need to put something else on this card. I don't know if you really think about maybe putting Saucedo versus Hooker on this, and even that, I don't know if that's the thing you do, and if it's really that, if that changes the paradigm of what is the bigger card, I don't know. But you definitely, I think, need to put something else on this event to really challenge that DAZN card for that day at least. And B saying, or stitching back to the Castellanos fight, saying Castellanos versus Rakhimov should be an all-right fight. Yeah, it should be fine. I mean, Castellanos is always in fun fights. So I'll probably find that on YouTube after the fact and watch it. CJ Wood saying Skype up and running, bro. No, it does not. You can call in 323-870-4051. If you are international and want to get in on this show or tomorrow's show, because I don't know if I can get the Skype line up by tomorrow, email me, mixedcombatradio@gmail.com. I'll send you a private link to get on the show, etc. Just if you want to know how to do that. Anyways, digressing. Let's get to I think a lot of news, or the news that I should say kind of broke boxing. Like it's taking, I would say, most of the hype of the day or the news of the day is about Joe Joyce signing with Al Heyman. And he says, per his own social media platform, whether it be Twitter or Instagram, he said, "I'm delighted to announce my management company at S-Jam Boxing, and I have teamed up with Al Heyman. I'm excited to now have Al advising me in my career. My U.S. debut will be announced imminently. The juggernaut is coming. Hashtag Al Heyman," all that stuff. I think this is this makes perfect sense. You have tons of guys that are automatically now like in your real house of fighting. The Spielkas, the Duhapis, the Charles Martin, the Wanakis. You can sort of fight all these guys now. To the Jared Washingtons of the world, Izu Agunu, like all these guys that are sort of that top 15-ish, top 20 names that I think you sort of need to beat before you can head into the Dylan Whites, the Joe Millers, the Joseph Parkers, and then to the Wilders and the Joshuas and the Tyson Furies, etc. But yeah, I think this is a great pickup, and especially if you're Al Heyman. Joe Joyce could be a force in this division, especially in the immediate future. Like in the next 3 to 6 years, this guy is going to be a force. And then I think he's probably going to be done after that just because of his age. So you need to get him now. You need to really capitalize on his monetary potential now. I think Al Heyman can get him there pretty fast. And plus, heavyweights always do well in America. They always do well. And if he's going to come over here like James DeGale, I think he's going to overall be bigger. Jonathan saying Ortiz, Matt. Joyce wants Ortiz. Great fight for both. I don't know if they make that first, but I agree that that's a great fight, and I should have mentioned Luis Ortiz. Thank you. But yeah, I mean, I think, again, good news. I think if you're Joe Joyce, and obviously good news if you're Al Heyman, and whatever network Al Heyman puts his fights on in 2019, whether it be Fox or Showtime. Moving over to some more news of the day, Jesse Madaleno signs a multi-year extension with Top Rank. And not much to say about this news other than I'm happy that they're not like giving up on Jesse. You know, he had a huge upset loss to Isaac Dogbe, which I talked about on the Top 10 Boxing Fights 2018. Go check that video out. Rob saying, don't talk to me about DeGale. Don't worry. DeGale is the next topic. Get hyped for that. But I think Jesse, again, I think has a lot of potential, especially at 122, which really is top heavy. It's not a loaded division in any sort of way. I think Jesse can easily come back. I think Jesse could easily come back and beat an Isaac Dogbe, a guy that he knocked down in the first round of their fight, or was it the second round? It was soon. It was relatively soon in their fight. But having wins against Nonito Donaire, etc. Yeah, I'm down with Jesse getting this extension from Top Rank, and also them not giving up on Jesse after he loses his O. It's good to know. Johnny in the chat saying, I didn't get my alert. Damn. Remember, you call in 323-870-4051, patreon.com/Mix Combat Radio. Let's head into some UK news, as Rob would love to do. James DeGale. What are you doing? So much wasted potential. The James DeGale that vacated his IBF belt to look for big fights is now in discussions with Rocky Fielding. Yes. What's my deep dive on this? I really don't have one. Like, it's my opinion of James DeGale is that he's no longer like one of the guys in the division. So if he doesn't want to fight top competition, I'm okay with that. Like, I know he said, I'm making the belt because I want big fights. And we thought maybe a Eubank, etc. You know, people that actually are big fights, and that didn't seem to happen. But fighting a Rocky Fielding, who relatively is an easy fight, who I think just beat, what's his name? Zug, whatever, in Germany. Yeah, I'm okay with that. I'm not going to hate on James for this. Good old James DeGale. I think his time in the sun is over. If he wants to take easy domestic fights and sort of just, headline small venue places in the UK and finish his career that way, I'm okay with that. I don't expect him to try to be the best guy in the division. I don't. Rob saying DeGale said big money fights, this ain't one. And it isn't. And I know that that apparent hypocrisy, the reason for him vacating, that's kind of bullshit, and I agree with that. But again, I mean, do we really care about James DeGale versus Chris Eubank Jr.? Because like that realistically was the only other fight for him that was big. Because he talked about moving up and stuff like that. That wasn't going to happen. He was talking about fighting Triple G. That wasn't going to happen. All of his leverage power was gone with the IBF, and he was going to lose to Uzgategi, in my opinion. It is what it is. Fat Appleton already hated on him for ducking the World Boxing Super Series. At least Eubank and Cox have heart. And I'll put it this way. James DeGale has been in a lot of tough fights, a lot of Fight of the Year contenders. Has taken a massive beating in his career. If he doesn't want to take more beatings and just take easy fights domestically for, a medium paycheck, I'm not going to hate on him. That's his prerogative. I don't look at him to be an elite guy in the division, so I don't expect elite things from him. I expect this from him. This is entirely in character of what James DeGale is doing. And Real Nine is just saying, Def don't care about Eubank Jr. versus DeGale. Yep, exactly. So I don't care more than anything. I'm indifferent. And I think indifference is fine here instead of hating on a guy trying to do something with his career other than getting beat up by the elite guys, which he clearly is not one of. Abner Mares going on social media and saying, posting this picture of him and Gervonta Davis. And I don't have Gervonta Davis's comment up because for some reason it's not like just showing right there, making it easier for me. But Gervonta Davis saying, basically, let's make it happen. It's a cakewalk at Showtime. Let's do it. Again, a lot better than TJ Dillashaw. Just want to throw that out there, that this is a possibility. Abner Mares talked about moving up in weight class. Gervonta Davis doesn't seem to really be pushing towards a Tevin Farmer fight for whatever reason, which, come on. That's ridiculous. That is clearly the best fight. But a close second, I would definitely say, is Abner Mares, who definitely at least has some skill. The boxing is saying, Matt, are you admitting the domestic UK fights are easy work? No, I'm admitting fighting in your regional scene with regional fighters is easy work. The equivalent would be Earl Spence, Carlos Ocampo. That's a domestic fight. Just it's a U.S. domestic fight. There's no international value in that, really. That's sort of the equivalent to it, I would say. Maybe not the exact equivalent, but it's close. Anyways, digressing to more news of the day. Devin Haney obtained his promoter's license in California. And I know this seems kind of premature, to put it lightly. Obviously he's talked about sort of being like not necessarily the next Mayweather, but that's sort of what it's been doing, or at least that's the optics or the narrative around him, and him putting on Devin Haney promotions while seeming premature. I don't think it's out of the question, especially if there's small regional events. I definitely would say that there's a lot more money that he probably has than what we think. And just all these guys in general. And to piggyback off of that, just to sort of give it as evidence, Josue Vargas, who I formerly from TMT, posted this picture on his IG, his bank account with $8.1 million. And if you don't know Josue Vargas because you've never heard of him, he's an 11-1 prospect. And to his credit, that one loss is a DQ because he hit someone in the back of the head. Not really a legit loss in that way, but digressing, there's a lot of money that these fighters are making. And even to add to it, Eddie Hearn talking about Mikey Garcia, and me and Fugati talked about this when he called in yesterday a little bit. Eddie Hearn saying that Mikey Garcia makes $3 million on average for his fights is an insane amount. And the amount of money we don't hear about is also an insane amount. On paper, he got paid $1 million against Robert Easter. And again, to use Eddie Hearn's example, who's been trying to negotiate with him, who's probably been privy to some of his figures and what he's been making overall in his latest fights. He's making $3 million. That means he made $2 million on the side. Twice his guaranteed pay, he got that in a backroom check. So a guy like Josue Vargas, who again had a lot of, I think, push from him, behind him from the Mayweather team, he has just 8.1 in liquid cash in his bank, basically waiting. What do you think a guy like Devin Haney has? A guy that, from all sense of it, has been an independent sort of guy, generating his own revenue and done it quite well. I'm not going to scoff at Devin Haney getting his promoter's license and doing his thing, because obviously he probably has the capital to do it. If the guys like Josue Vargas have $8.1 million in the bank, just waiting. Guys like Mike Garcia are making $3 million per fight at least, and $2 million of that is in backroom checks we don't hear about. Yeah, there's a lot of money, a lot of dark money in the sport that we just are not privy to in the slightest. To move on to sort of a slew of just bad news, like just horrific, despicable news we have to talk about. And I'm going to sort of lump it all together. And in this, we're going to transition into MMA as well. We're just going to get through it because it's just awful, all of this stuff. Carlos Baldomir facing 20 years in a sexual abuse case of his own daughter. That's just no words. Like that guy should be locked away for a lot more than 20 years, to put it lightly. On top of that, Antonio Tarver being arrested for domestic battery in TMZ. That is obviously a much newer situation. We're going to see how sort of information gets out for that one. And one more piece of news in the MMA world. Really awful case of Andrea Lee, her husband, Donnie Aaron, domestic violence. Donnie Aaron was the guy that got a lot of media attention for having a Nazi tattoo on him. He was a cop that shot an unarmed black man 7 times. You know, there's just a lot that I could go off on with this topic. I'm not going to. If you have the stomach for it, read the police report. It's hard. It's definitely not good shit, to put it in any way lightly. I hope justice is completely served out in this case, in all the cases, because this is just horrific news. And again, I talked about this last week. I forget what it was. No, it was this week, I want to say, with the old Deontay Wilder comments about crippling Dominic Breazeale. And obviously that is not anywhere close to any of this, right? That I don't want to compare the two. But awful shit and awful characters in combat sports is just prevalent. It just is. Ziram Zadan over at, I believe he's at MMA Fighting or Bloody Elbow. Go look at him on Twitter or on his Twitter account. He posted a ton of sources, a ton of articles about how the neo-Nazi white nationalists, what's the word? Connection to MMA, or how much it's involved in it. It's the combat sports just brings about some awful characters and some awful things. Like, it just does, unfortunately. And for all the times we can talk about all the great fights we have, you know, like a Derek Chisora, Carlos Takam, or a Saucedo, Lenny Z, Deontay Wilder, Luis Ortiz fight. We have cases like this. And it's just something we got to talk about in some way. Got to make sure we are, holding our own community account. Because guys like Donnie Aaron and these pieces of shit, they're in every gym in every city in this entire country. And not only in this country, probably in the UK, everywhere. The abuses people partake within this community, it's absurd. And like, just keep a watchful eye out there. If you're a person that trains in a gym, watch for abuse. Watch for people that are suspect, because some of the worst people are attracted to these sports, unfortunately. And we just gotta deal with that. Rob saying Matt killed the chat. I'm sorry for sort of the serious news and all that. I understand. Santiago saying, I remember when Real Sports did a segment on this. Yeah, with the War Machine, with the adult film actress Christy Mack, and that whole case. This one is eerily similar. That's why I warn you, if you have the stomach for it, read their police report, because it is a hard one to read. But let's get off of this. The prospect, actually, I'm going to go right back into it. The prospect making a really good point. Saying, how are we holding them to account? Lifetime ban should be given to domestic abusers. Yeah, convicted domestic abusers should not be allowed to pick up a glove and hit people. Like, that should be common sense, I feel like. People that have a criminal tendency to hurt and abuse people should not want to hurt and abuse people in their hobby or their job. Like that should be obvious. And I think I talked about this briefly about the UFC walking back their UFC Fighter Code of Conduct clause, because of situations like this, unfortunately. You think that's counterintuitive, but that's what they did. But yeah, sorry. Let's move off of this. I know it's depressing news, but I felt a need to at least address it in some way, shape, or form. If I didn't, I felt like I was not doing my job properly, to be quite honest. Again, call in 323-870-4051. Let's get into some MMA topics. Yes, get hyped. Get hyped. Hold on one second. As I pull something up right here very quickly. Okay. I'm thinking about doing this moving forward because I know some of you, at least a lot of you, do not listen to, or do not, at least don't care about both sports. Like I have MMA fans in here that listen to the MMA part of the show, and I have boxing fans that only listen to the boxing part of the show. I'm thinking about either splitting up the shows entirely. So I have a boxing show and an MMA show once a day, so once each. So I have one boxing show and one MMA show separate every day, Monday through Friday, same time in theory. It would be the boxing show first and the MMA show right after. Oh, that's mean, Prospect. The Prospect saying from abuse to MMA. I thought we were leaving the depressing topics, Matt. I'm sorry. Or I'm thinking about keeping it one show, but having in theory two parts, where it would be the boxing like we do have right now. We have boxing, MMA, and then the callers, but there'd be two caller portions, where there'd be a caller portion in between the boxing and MMA topics, and then a caller portion obviously after the show itself. Those are sort of the two ideas I'm floating out to you guys, floating out in my own head. I know there's probably a few of you right now in the live chat that would leave a comment. Please leave an actual comment, like one that is staying, that's not in the chat. Please leave an actual comment to which you prefer, or if you wanted to say the same, like that can be a possibility as well. I might put up a poll or something, but let me know, because I'm curious as to if you guys want some change about this, especially since we now have callers. And not everyone wants to listen to MMA and boxing. And at some shows, it can get quite long. Like we're already at minute 45 here into the show. and we haven't got to MMA, haven't got to callers, etc. I don't know if that's okay, if you guys are okay with these very long shows. MB saying split the show. Well, MB, leave an actual comment, please. That is so helpful to have a easy record to go back to. But to digress quickly, because I'm not really going to break down the MMA cards that much, because I don't care about them, to be quite honest. Rob saying actual comment in all caps, a la legendary boxer, just drop MMA entirely. You know, Rob, if you were on the show, maybe I might consider that, but you're not on the show.
I want smoke.
Anyways, digressing. Bellator 205 over at Sioux Falls in South Dakota. Good old South Dakota. Darrion Caldwell versus Noad Lahat. Also on the card, Logan Storley, undefeated prospect. James Gallagher, undefeated prospect. Two guys to at least make note of. And for the main event, Caldwell should win this. Noad Lahat has never been that impressive to me. Kind of chinny. Caldwell, I think, is at least a complete mixed martial artist. Good grappling. I think his striking has gotten better. I can't wait to see if he can really style on Noad Lahat. That's what I want to see. Moving over slightly to a review, because I see the Boxing Idiots comment in the live chat. I did enjoy that Glory Kickboxing event last week. Yeah, I wanted to mention that slightly, the Glory Denver card. I'm not going to remember any of their names, but there's some great knockouts, some fun fights. Go check that out if you haven't. Hopefully when Kyle comes on, he actually is a Muay Thai fighter. He's a little more understanding and has more knowledge of the kickboxing industry and world. Hopefully he can break down those events better than I can. But yeah, definitely a great event from Glory. In terms that there really wasn't that many names. Like even like the Super League or Super Fight League, whatever that's on Fight Pass, like the prelim portion of it, those guys weren't that talented. Like the depth of skill between the prelims and the main card on ESPN was gigantic. But fun fights, so I can't wait to see that shit. Or I should say, can't wait to see the next Glory card, because that was a fun event just to watch on like replay. I didn't watch it live, but that was fun. Digressing, Professional Fighters League, PFL 6 has a card this week on Thursday, I believe. Ray Cooper III versus Pavel Kuch. Ray Cooper, who just had the emphatic knockout against Jake Shields, who also is on this card against Herman Terrendo. John Howard on the card, Rick Story on the card, some UFC veterans. One of the Khabib's relatives, Khabib Nurmagomedov, one of the Nurmagomedov cousins, brothers, one of them is on the card. Kayla Harrison, U.S. gold medalist in judo, is on the card as well. 1-0, making her second MMA fight. Kind of can't wait to watch her fight, especially because she had so much Ronda Rousey comparisons. And they kind of got ridiculous. But that is it for the MMA fight events this weekend. Let's run through the news quickly so we can get to callers again. 323-870-4051. And I'm going to try to get to international callers. Again, hit me up, mixcombatradio@gmail.com. If you want that link, I can send it to you. Rob has a link. I don't know if he's on. Is he on yet? Hold on, let me check. No, he's not on yet. Rob doesn't love us. It's okay. But moving over to Kevin Lee and Dylan Dennis. I think it was on Air Hawani's show. He's not on MA Hour anymore. He's on ESPN. He said that he rolled with Dylan Dennis, was doing reverse triangle chokes. He was styling on Dylan Dennis. And if you don't know, Dylan Dennis is one of the more prolific Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu practitioners today, basically. And Dylan Dennis going on Twitter saying, if what you say is true at Motown Phenom, then let's roll on Instagram Live. We both put up $100K cash winner takes all.
I want smoke.
Only way to win It's by submission. Hashtag easy money. And then Kevin Lee saying, say win. Oh. I'm down for that. I'm okay with that. More news. Benson Henderson fighting Syed Awad, Bellator 208. Fun card, or I should say fun fight. Especially seeing as Ben Henderson take this really weird second half of his career in Bellator. I think it's at least a notable fight against Awad, who's been in some, I think he's fought Michael Chandler. I don't think he fought Eddie Alvarez when Eddie was there, but he was around during that time, making a lot of noise, knocking people out. So I like that matchup. Some dual news. Oh, no, sorry. No, we're not going to do the Golden Boy MMA event. Fuck that. I'm over it. Glover Teixeira getting a injured shoulder, needing surgery. So he's out of the fight with Jimi Manuwa. But in comes Anthony Smith, Khalil Rountree, both saying they want the fight. Yes. Give me either one, and I am completely sold on that. I think those are fun matchups. Either one of them are. But yes, let's move on to the callers of the day. Remember, 323-870-4041. I see Santiago there. I assume Santiago is going to press 1. So I'm going to go to him, even though he hasn't pressed 1. Remember, if you call in, you have to press 1. If you want to be on an international call, email me, mixedhelmetradio@gmail.com. Let's go to Santiago as I look to see if any of you have emailed me. Santiago, how you doing?
Doing good. Pretty slow day at work today, so I finally had the chance to call in and give my take on preview day. Obviously, though, most of this is a showcase event, most of these cards, so I think it's just a formality to pick who I think is going to win outside of the upset pickers. I'm just looking forward to Fury, getting the win, and then bringing Wilder in there. They'll probably do some shit talking. They'll do the announcement a la AJ Klitschko, and we're just going to get confirmation at that point that the fight is pretty much made. I am looking forward to seeing Carl Frampton back in action, even if it is against someone that I haven't really heard of. And in the Manuwa Smith fallout, I'm actually looking forward to whoever they do decide to pick. I actually am kind of a little more interested in seeing him against Khalil Rountree. I think that's going to be a good fight.
Why Khalil over Anthony?
I think mostly just because I've actually seen Khalil fight already, courtesy of you, actually.
That's true. Definitely. I'll give you my Fight Pass link. You should have my Fight Pass link already, but I'll give you that link. You need to go watch Anthony Smith fight because he's good. He's good, and he's fought, I would say, better competition at this point.
That sounds good. So yeah, pretty much. It's just the showcase weeks, but it's still fighting, and I'm looking forward to it. And I got Saturday free, so you know what to expect at that point.
Yes, definitely come over for the live fight chat for the Frampton Jackson Fury card. If you want, should we do one for the ESPN card? Because I kind of don't care.
I mean, dude, I completely forgot about the Bryant, Jennings, Alexander Dimitrenko card, but why not? It's still fighting. It's going to be on ESPN. We're not going to deal with any streaming services outside of how we're going to watch the Irish card. But
That's
other
true.
than that, there's not much more to say at this point. These topics are pretty much just a formality to me. We all know what we think. We all know who we're picking. And unless you have any questions regarding any of these other topics, that's my call. And I look forward to seeing you on Saturday for the live fight chat.
I have one question. What version of Frampton do you think we're going to get? Do you think we're going to see a return to form, or do we still see a little bit of a faded version?
I personally think we'll probably see the same version we saw in this fight with Nonito Donaire. And I think, to me, depending where he really is at in his career, I think I think we're going to see him the way we saw Demetrius Johnson, you know, on the UFC fight with Henry Cejudo, and that'll pretty much give us a clearer understanding where he's at in his career too. I would like to see him come back to form, maybe give the performance that we thought we were going to see from rounds 1 through 12 with Alejandro Gonzalez. But like I said, I don't really sense that sense of like I want to show people that I'm still a player. I feel like he's just doing enough to basically get the fights to win and move forward.
Agreed. Thank you, Santiago. We'll see you later. Have a good one. I believe this is legendary boxer, my good friend. How are you doing?
What's going on, man? Congrats to PBC and Al Haven for picking up Rigo and Joe Joyce. I mean, these are the kind of moves that Eddie should be making because he's got to fill those 22 days, right?
I mean,
am I right?
I'll put it this way: if Eddie picked up Rigo and Joe Joyce, would really care that much? Like, it's not earth shattering. They're good pickups.
He have to fill 22 dates, Matt?
No, true. It's good pickups, but again, I don't think it's like a earth shattering movement. You know, it's a paradigm shifting event. It's not that. It's not a Danny moving. It's not an Earl Spence moving.
I think Joyce and Rigo are better than Delorme and Vargas. That's for damn sure. They might not be as known as Vargas, but what I'm saying is, doesn't Eddie have to fill 22 dates, 22 American cards for DAZN? That's where I'm coming from.
16.
Why would he not be signing these guys? He only signed like 10 guys. How is he going to fill up 22 dates?
16
in America.
16.
Okay, 16. How is he going to fill those out? I mean, Vargas can't fight fucking 8 times. What is he going to do?
Yeah, but you have guys like Demetrius Andrade who's on there. You got Gerald Miller who can headline an event, in my opinion, if you match him up right. And again, they have to pick up more people. That's obviously what they have to do. 16
cards, isn't it? Don't you need at least 50, 60 guys on your stable? And he's only got, like 10, 12, 15 people? That's what I'm saying. Like, he needs to get it going. And DAZN is not even available to buy it. Like, why are they waiting so long to introduce it? Like, people are just going to wait till a week before the card and buy it? Like, isn't that kind of stupid? Nobody even knows anything about DAZN, how to get it, how it works. Nothing yet. Nothing.
I think when it comes to fight week for Anthony Joshua Povetkin and the hardcores want to see it legally, they're going to be able to find it legally. That shouldn't be an issue. Now, to your point about DAZN and their rollout, they've had an awful rollout. That's obvious.
Rob is crying in the chat. He doesn't like all these facts.
Well, I think your issue is that you obviously do not like Eddie Hearn. You're obviously waving the flag of PBC, and that's fine. We need fanboys in here.
Not really.
What you
Not
are.
Really. I'm just trying to hold Eddie to the standards that he said he would be blazing in the USA with. You know, like he's like, I'm coming in blazing. I'm going to sign this guy. I'm going to sign this guy. Just watch this, watch that. I mean, he's not even able to win fucking purse bids when he's the A side. Hooker is the A side. He should be winning the purse bid. I mean, the opponent's fucking promoter's winning, and then last week he lost the $20,000 purse bid for Kid Galahad to Warren. So I don't know what's going on with this guy.
Kid Galahad's a Warren fighter.
No, Kid Galahad's an Eddie Hearn fighter. The article states that. He said Kid Galahad was told by Eddie Hearn he would win the purse bid for him. He didn't. Didn't you read the article?
No, I did not, because I don't care.
Somebody, Fat Apple, thought Kid Galahad was a Warren fighter too, but I think he's with Eddie. Because Kid Galahad, he trains with Brooke, and he's from that camp.
You can train with fighters from different promoters. That's just saying.
I know, but the article says Eddie told
no,
Galahad.
It
says
it's really not that big of a deal, legendary boxer. Like, it's not.
20K purse bid. Why is he losing 20K purse bids? And Warren's not that rich. I mean, Eddie's the one that's running UK boxing. Why is Warren winning 20K purse bids? Because it doesn't add up.
Because I don't think you throw Kid Galahad in the U.S. card. Like, again, like if your criticism is he needs people to fill up U.S. events, the Kid Galahad purse bid has nothing to do with that. That's a completely separate issue.
Someone in the chat said Ricky Burns versus Frankie Gavin at Walmart in Bowling Green, Kentucky on DAZN. That makes sense, doesn't it?
That's fucking hilarious. That's a good joke. That's a good one. But hey, I'll put I said this I think on yesterday's show, and I know you came in late for yesterday's show, but even though he didn't win the purse bid for Maurice Hooker, Alex Salcedo, he now has that $1.5 million bid that he's not using, and he can go and use that for somebody else. So there could be positives from this. What was
Who's
that?
going to be picking the judges, officials, rings, and everything for the Saucedo Hooker fight?
So who cares?
Top rank, right?
Who cares?
Yeah, but when you have the champ, you're supposed to give him all the advantages, right? Like Stevenson got with Al Heyman, went out of his way to win that bid, right? And people say PBC's broke since 2015, and PBC's bidding 3 times more than fucking DAZN, and they're supposed to have $1 billion. Let's talk about that.
Obviously,
how is PBC whooping Aaron's ass?
Obviously, a $1.5 million bid behind a $1.6 million bid is still a really good bid for that fight. You have to admit that. Hooker Saucedo a year ago. Let me finish my question. Hooker Saucedo a year or 2 years ago would have never got a bid that high, right?
That's true.
So that's a net positive for the sport, in my opinion. That fighters are now getting that sort of check.
And I wouldn't be surprised if WBO told Aaron what Eddie bid, and they fucking bid 100K, because that's the kind of relationship WBO has with Aaron, you know? Because that number sounded kind of fishy. He barely bid 100K over Eddie, so you know that kind of sounds fishy. What Heyman did with the PBC and Aaron was he got like 2 lawyers to bid for him, and he took the highest bid above. The highest bid, $5 million bid, he took that out when he won with the $3 million bid. Isn't that what happened?
I don't remember that.
Remember?
I don't remember that.
With the Stevenson and Glowstick first bid? You don't remember?
I don't remember it off the top of my head. No, I did not.
Yeah, because that's how Heyman maneuvered Aaron. That's why Aaron was crying foul. He's like, they sent 2 bids in there, one for $5 million, one for $3 million. And then at the end moment, when Aaron lost, they took the $5 million bid away, and then the $3 million bid was finalized. So.
But legendary boxer, I understand your criticism of Eddie, and I echo obviously some of it. But again, we have a top rank card this weekend that is trash. We had PBC that just put we have PBC that just put on Andre Berto, Devin Alexander on Fox, while they put Danny Garcia versus Sean Porter on Showtime.
That was a way better card than DAZN's flagship first card. That was a way better card than DAZN's flagship card.
That is highly debatable.
Also, Matt,
that is highly debatable.
Before the Berto Alexander card, what did we have? We had PBC's 3rd unification in 2018, right? Mikey versus Easter.
That's great. That's great. And I can do the same thing with Eddie Hearn. I can do the same thing with Eddie Hearn, legendary boxer. Every criticism you have. Hold on, legendary boxer. Hold on. It's my show. Hold on. Don't make me mute you. It's okay. Let's have a debate here. Let's have a healthy debate here. For every criticism you have of Eddie Hearn, I can go and find a positive. I can. Okay? The point of being objective is to not hold one promoter or one network to a higher standard or a different standard than all of them. You hold them all to the same standard, and you don't do that.
But
you clearly don't do that.
I just named 3 unifications.
All you've mentioned this entire call. All you mentioned this entire. Hold on. All you mentioned this entire call is Eddie Hearn. The fight cards this weekend are Frank Warren, which is all showcases, and Top Rank, which are all showcases. You haven't mentioned them once.
Dude, nobody's cared about top rank card. I'm just saying, fucking, dude, come on. And even Danny Garcia. Did you watch what Danny Garcia told Ness about Eddie's offer for $10 million?
So you're not going to address what I said at all. The fact that we have 2 cards this weekend. We have 2 cards this weekend.
You didn't even let me finish.
It doesn't matter. This is my show and my question.
Let me rebut, dude. Let me rebut.
Go.
I told you PBC had 3 unification fights in 8 months. Why don't you name one promoter in this world that's done that? I'll wait. Just tell me that.
3 unifications in 1 month. Is that what you just said? Is that the stat?
In 8 months.
8 months. Sorry, 8 months.
Relax.
8 months. Okay.
In August. In January to August, PBC had 3 unifications. Name one promoter in the fucking universe who did that. Just one.
Eddie Hearn had 1 in that time frame. I believe he had another one.
I said 3.
I can think of it. Yeah, if you give me time, I can definitely think of that. That's not a big deal.
Go ahead. 3. Go ahead. Go ahead.
But again, legendary boxer, you're 99. No. Hold on, legendary boxer. 95% of what you talk about is about one man. Let me tell you about this. He is maybe at most 20% of the sport, 25% of the sport. The amount of content he puts out.
Not even 10%. That's a way bigger number.
The
way he's been getting shine in USA, he deserves it.
And legendary boxer, if he is 10% of the sport, why do you talk about him 95% of the time? Why are you obsessed?
Because all the videos I'm seeing on YouTube are about Eddie and fucking DAZN this, DAZN that. So I got to fucking rebut all these.
What do you mean all videos? What do you mean all videos? What are you talking about?
Because, dude, all the YouTube channels are like Eddie DAZN every fucking day. So I got to. That's the kind of topics that are in my head, you know.
But what do you mean? But what do you mean that they mention him? So who cares?
Yeah, but if Top Rank had a great card this weekend, I'd be probably talking about Top Rank, but they don't, so that's why. Also,
but they have an awful card. They have an awful card, and you haven't had one criticism of it.
I'm not even watching that card, so that's the worst criticism. I'm not even watching that crap.
But again, the amount of time you spend in your life, in this boxing life, 90% of it is about one man, which you credit as to putting out 10% of the content into the sport. Why don't you spend the rest of your time, or more of your time, talking about the people that put more content into the sport? Talk about the bigger players involved. You don't. Top Rank's a bigger player. Top Rank's a bigger player, right?
And you still
isn't Top Rank a bigger player?
You still haven't named a promoter who did 3 unifications in 2018. You still haven't.
No, because I don't have to. 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 I'll tell you again. I don't have to tell you because you haven't answered any of my questions.
Because you can, Matt. You can.
Yes, because I don't have it off the top of my head. I don't have that knowledge off my head. I don't research people like you do.
That's because they didn't happen, dude. That's because they didn't happen.
Homie, you are obsessed with the man that you say is only worth 10% of the amount of content out there. You are obsessed with him.
Yeah, obsessed with exposing his lies. And
why don't you talk about Bob Arum's lies?
High-level unifications, you would name them right now.
Why don't you talk about Bob Arum's lies? Hold on. Why don't you talk about Bob Arum's lies, or Leonard Ellaby, or Lou DiBella's, or Frank Warren's? Why don't you talk about any of them?
Bob Arum doesn't even do interviews. I haven't seen the Bob Arum interview in like 6 months.
I just talked about one. You know I just talked about one on this show.
When did he do an interview?
With Steve Kim.
Oh, the article he wrote today, or about the apps and shit? That?
Yes. So you're saying he never did an interview? He literally did one today.
Yeah, but what did he lie about in there? Like, did he make shit up?
But like, I'm not talking about the lie. I'm talking about your reasoning as to not talking about Bob Arum is he doesn't do interviews. He literally did one today.
But Bob
he
Arum
literally has an event this weekend.
Hold on.
I have to mute you here, Legendary Boxer, because you keep talking over me. Again, your criticism is about a guy who does not have an event this weekend. Your criticism of the guy is that he has shit fights. He doesn't do all this, blah, 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 blah. He only puts out 10% of the content. And yet you're not going to talk about Top Rank, which is obviously a bigger brand, especially in the US. It obviously is. You're not talking about Frank Warren, who has much more experience and history in the sport. Them both putting on showcase events. Because in your opinion, I don't care. Well, why don't you care about Eddie Hearn? He only puts out 10% of the content in your mind. You know, it's just, again, your obsession with the man, your obsession with Eddie Hearn, when in your mind you've said he puts out only 10% of the content in the sport, is insane. And your reasoning for it is because all of YouTube is putting out videos. Most of YouTube criticizes Eddie Hearn. I criticize him on a daily basis. Ego does. Dante does. TBV does. You run down the list, a lot of fucking YouTubers criticize Eddie Hearn. The biggest ones do. The biggest YouTube channels criticize him. The UK channels maybe not so much, but that's to be expected. Just like the US channels don't really criticize PBC that much. Am I right? Again, Legend Boxer, love you. Keep calling. But your obsession with Eddie Hearn and your unwillingness to criticize your camp, your unwillingness to criticize the placement of Andre Berto. I'll give you time to respond, Legend Boxer. Don't worry. Your lack of criticism for Andre Berto, Devin Alexander being on Fox instead of Danny and Sean on it. And your defense is, well, they put on another great event the week before, again on Showtime. Why wasn't Mike Garcia versus Robert Easter on Fox? Why? Isn't that better for the fans? Wasn't that the whole point of PBC? But no, you will spend zero time criticizing that. You write it off. You excuse it away. You find some misguided logic as to how you can fix that and excuse that away. But the reality is that should be criticized by PBC, and you don't. And I think that is indicative. Again, that's funny, Legend Boxer. I'll go to you right now just because of that, saying stop filibustering, Matt. That was funny. Okay, now Legend Boxer, rebuttal, rebuttal,
listen,
and then we can move on.
Dude, you just talked for like 10 minutes. Now can I talk? All right. So before the Berto and what did he fight Alexander card? Was the Mikey card before it or after it? I'm kind of forgetting.
Before.
All right, so that's why they have kind of a pass. They gave you fucking Mikey Easter
on Showtime.
Unification fights that don't really happen. Well, let me finish. So
but,
what if it's on Showtime?
But no, Legendary Boxer.
$10.
But I gotta meet you again because you misunderstand the entire point of that criticism. Is the placement of it on free TV, and their idea of putting the best content on premium networks, which is antithesis of what PBC wanted to do. So don't tell me, well, they put on Mikey Garcia, Robert Easter before. Again, that's my criticism. Why was that fight not on Fox? Why is Danny Shaw not on Fox? If they're going to sign to Fox and go exclusively to Fox like it's rumored, shouldn't they be putting their best content out there? And I'll go to again now, and let's wrap it up, Legendary Boxer. Let's get it out of the way. We have another caller on the line.
Matt,
but come on, you need to understand my point here. I don't think you don't.
It wasn't on Fox because you know why it was on Fox? Because Mikey made like $2 million plus, and Easter made like $1 million. Fox doesn't pay licensing fees, so that's first of all. And then they have fucking Danny and Porter coming on Showtime. Why would I criticize them when they're making the best fights in boxing for $10 a month, Matt?
Excuses.
$10 a month.
Excuses.
That's what the zone is. $10 a month. Plus we get Showtime channels and movies and all that. That's my point.
Excuses.
Go ahead.
I think that's an excuse. That's another excuse. That's not addressing my criticism. That they're putting the best fights on a premium network away from the basic exposure, which again was PBC's entire creation. The entire reason PBC was made to put boxing on free TV. Right?
Yeah, that was their motto. They tried and they failed. So what? Why do you keep
they failed because they put this on there. They failed because of this. And you can't criticize that.
Because of what?
Because you're a fanboy. You're a flag-waving fanboy. That's your issue, Legendary Boxer. I got to admit you. We got to move on. I'm sorry. We got to move on. Okay? But your unwillingness to criticize that obvious criticism that they have, that obvious flaw, shows you're a fanboy with flag-waving bullshit. You know, and it's sad that you cannot handle the truth. It really is. And your excuse that Showtime pays better. I don't care. I don't. You don't care about Maurice Hooker getting paid better. So why would we care about Mike Garcia getting paid better? I want to see the best fights on the best network it should be on. And your excuse is, nope, sorry, that's okay. Let's wave the Showtime PBC flag some more. Well, I believe Rob called in. Rob, you do know that there's like another line. Let's go to the UK caller first. I see you, Kyle. Do not go anywhere, but we're going to go to the UK caller first because he is international. Hello. Rob, is this you?
Hello. Yeah, you hear me?
Yes, Rob. You know, you can just... I set up a line for you. You know that, right?
Yeah, it doesn't work. It didn't work, so... I just heard the last caller. I just thought I'd call in.
Oh, we'll go, Rob. The floor is yours.
No, man. I can't go on that legendary boxer. He's just got issues. But, you know, saying all these videos he's watching, well, doesn't that say something? That all these videos are being made? Isn't he promoting the hell out of everything?
Yeah, that's too much of a nuanced thought process. That's too much of a nuanced thought process for Legendary Boxer. The guy that puts out 10% of the boxing content is everywhere on YouTube. Every YouTube channel is talking about him. But he only puts out 10% of boxing content.
And he hates him that much, he watches everything. So, anyway. But talking about other promoters and whether they do interviews, well, Frank Warren yesterday in the press conference revealing that he had a hand in making the offer that was going to Joshua for the Wilder fight, and that BT's money was going to be involved, that they were going to be wanting the fight on BT. So we know that was never going to happen because Joshua is this guy. So looks like Eddie Hearn was right. It was all bullshit.
I'm not going to say it's all bullshit, but I mean, my overall point of it is like the whole $50 million offer, like it's no longer relevant. So Frank Warren being an old grumpy promoter just talking about it, to me is irrelevant. To me, that is clearly a PR tactic for this event. So I kind of paid it no mind, to be honest. Like I'm not gonna dive in and fight in the trenches about if he's right or wrong. I think it's kind of pointless at this point, to be quite honest.
No, I hear you. I mean, Wilder said today that he will never fight. I think Fury and Wilder have both distanced themselves, saying they'll never fight Joshua. So I don't know, but I just found it interesting that if what Warren said is true and it was BT money helping to be part of the 50 million, then it was just basically, it's like a roadblock. You know, just like people would say Joshua going to DAZN means Wilder would have to leave Showtime. So
I don't think that's what he meant.
It's kind of the same.
I don't think that's what he meant. I think, again, because remember, we talked about it off air, and I think I was under the impression, and maybe Team Wilder were, that Anthony Joshua was a free agent network-wise in the UK. Obviously, he had a Sky Sports extension. Maybe they went to Frank Warren saying, hey, if we got the rights to this fight in the UK, could we put on BT Sports, which is, I'm not going to say a bigger network than Sky, but I think they're in more homes than Sky, are they not?
No, Sky, I would say, are in more homes. I don't know that for a fact, but I would say Sky have got the bigger subscription, but I don't know my facts. I don't watch Frank Warren videos enough to find out who's got the...
Yeah, you're not obsessed.
Sure, legendary boxer knows. But yeah, and also the hate and, you know, the everything that DAZN is getting, they haven't launched yet. They haven't had a fight card yet, and it's just, I think Ed's finding out pretty quickly that there's a lot of resistance, whether it's from people that he's wanting to subscribe to DAZN, whether it's promoters talking to fighters saying, oh, you don't want to go to DAZN. I mean, with the purse bids, I think, yeah, it's a bad look on DAZN. Eddie should have won that for DAZN. But he lost the purse bid by $70,000, and he bid over $1.5 million. And like you say, that fight, you know, pre all this apps coming online and wanting the fight and really becoming quite a rivalry now between ESPN and DAZN, that fight would never have been anywhere near that kind of figure. So he lost by $70,000 after bidding, I think it was like 1.55 million. But at the end of the day, his fight is now picking up a purse of 1.2 million, which, you know, what would he have got for the Josh Warrington fight? Josh Warrington fight. No, who am I talking about? Flanagan fight, sorry. What kind of purse would he have picked up for that? 100,000, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, you know, he's signed to Eddie Hearn and he's found himself in a position to defend his title. Yeah, not on the network that he signed for, but for the promoter, and he's getting 1.2 million. And now maybe Eddie's got a little insight. Okay, this is how aggressive ESPN are going to be. You know, they've set a marker out, and he now knows. Okay, this is where we're at with purse bids in America with our big, you know, mainstreaming rival. Or I mean, I don't know if the fight is actually on ESPN Plus or if it's going to be on just main ESPN, but you know, he's now got a barometer as to how aggressive they're going to be. So it's a learning curve, and you know, he's just started. So I just don't see that why the hate has to come so hard. It's all more boxing, and Legendary Boxer was saying why he's only got like 10 fighters. Well, we know Katie Taylor's coming over. We know some other fighters from the UK have been talked about coming over. So I know Legendary Boxer doesn't care about the UK in any way, but there are actual boxing fans out there that might want to see boxers from, you know, other countries. And I've seen plenty of people in the chat going, oh, I wish we could see, you know, some of the UK cards, and the fact that we show them from 7 p.m. till right through till, you know, the main event. We see the whole thing. Maybe one or two start off on Facebook, but then we're live at 7 o'clock, which is exactly what DAZN are going to do. So it's a hell of a lot of boxing. And yeah, I just, you know, would like to think that boxing fans would just get behind it a little more. But obviously there's flag waving on both sides. Obviously I'm doing it a little bit over here, but yeah, Eddie's finding out maybe the hard way. There's a lot of resistance, but you know, good luck to him, because I think he's great for the sport, and I hope he can succeed.
I'll piggyback off of that and say that if legendary boxer truly believes that Eddie Hearn is a bad force in this sport and this community, and I think he really doesn't understand what Eddie Hearn's job is. Like Eddie Hearn's job is to get people like legendary boxer pissed off, and then get people like you happy. Like that's innately what he is supposed to do. He is not supposed to be your best friend. He is supposed to lie to you. He is supposed to sell you on shit sometimes, and then sell you on stuff that's golden sometimes. That's his job. And just like a Lou DiBella, a Leonard Elby, anyone that PBC uses in his, conglomerate, Bob Arum, Todd LaBeouf, all those guys, they're all the same in my opinion. And you have to look at individual events, individual fights, individually. You have to paint the entire promotion, whether it's Top Rank, Matchroom, PBC, with one brush is just inaccurate, and it's ignorant.
Yeah, totally. Definitely. Anyway, this probably just cost me about £50,000, so I'm going to hang up now.
All right, have a good one, Rob.
Yeah, enjoy the show, everybody. Cheers.
Cheers. Heading over to Kyle. Before we do, remember, call in 323-870-4051 if you want to participate. Heading over to Kyle, and I forget where Kyle's from. Chicago or Denver? I want to say Chicago. Am I right? Is it Chicago, Kyle?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Chicago suburbs.
What's up, Kyle? How you doing?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Good, man. Another day in paradise. Another day doing the thing I love. Can't complain.
Right on, right on. That was quite the conversation you had just a little bit ago with legendary boxer.
Again, another day, man. Another day in paradise, that's for sure.
Well, I don't really have too much to say about boxing. I don't really have much to say about MMA neither. I kind of just wanted to touch back on the Glory event that happened this past Friday in Denver.
Go for it. I thought it was a great event.
All right. Yeah, so not too much happened, but we did have two title fights. In the main event, it was Artem Bekitov defending his title against Daniel Ilunga, and they fought once before when they were both just contenders. It wasn't for a belt at the time, and Bekitov won. It was basically the same fight. Bekitov just won a decision. Just basically was more effective the whole time. Nothing too surprising. But the co-main event, however, was it's probably going to go down as the upset / most controversial call of the year in kickboxing. It was Anissa Meksen, who was the defending champion at the time. I don't know if you're familiar with her, but she's been on a roll lately. She took the belt from Tiffany Van Soos. And then the funny thing is, this girl she was fighting, I can't remember her first name, but her last name is Menezes.
Mm-hmm.
And they actually made their Glory debuts against each other. And Meksen won. And since then, she's had like 5 or 6 fights that she's won in Glory, including the big win against Tiffany Van Soos. And the other girl has had maybe just 2 fights, maybe 3 since then, with mixed results. So it was kind of just weird for her to get this title shot in the first place. And then the fight was just terrible, just a terrible call. Like, the champ should have definitely walked away with her belt. She didn't. She lost it. And it was just kind of disappointing to see.
Yeah, it was. I remember that fight.
And then that's about it, really. That's all I had to say about it.
Is that it, Kyle? Nothing else on any of the topics? You're good?
Yeah, not really, man. Good show today.
All right, have a good one, Kyle. But that is it, ladies and gentlemen. That's it. That was the last caller. We're going to head on out of here. Final thoughts, wrapping it up. What did we cover today? We covered so much, I feel like. Let me pull up all my topics that I have for the show, just so I can sort of see. Well, obviously the fights. Carl Frampton, Tyson Fury, the Cristofer Rosales, and Paddy Barnes fight. Those 3 fights should be fun, should be entertaining. We're going to do a live fight chat for that and immediate reaction, so make sure you keep the notification on for YouTube, because we'll be live for that one. Obviously later, the Top Rank Showcase event. It is what it is. Just glad to see Shakur Stevenson back. It's always good to see him. Even if he's in a showcase, that type of prospect, that type of talent, that's always a good thing to see and for us to have widespread exposure to see, because he is on ESPN. What else? Obviously, the Rocky Fielding James DeGale fight, a joke. Jesse Magdaleno re-signing to Top Rank. I think that's awesome of Top Rank, especially to do. Devin Haney making his own promotional company. Maybe jumping the shark a little bit, but we know there's a lot of dark money in this sport, especially from TMT fighters. So God knows what sort of capital he has to work with. And Bellator 204, PFL 6. Can't wait for those as well. What else? I think that's it. Yep, have a good one. Be back tomorrow, same time as always, live on YouTube, podcast form on iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, etc. You can find me, Matt Hunter MCR, all platforms, Mixed Helmet Radio, all platforms, Patreon, go support the show. Peace.